Something crazy happened in Hollywood. Did you hear about the Academy Awards? Just announced right now, if you want to win Best Picture, to be nominated, what the new guidelines are. When they announced this, people lost their minds. They said, these new guidelines, if we follow these guidelines, the following movies in the past would have never won an Academy. Titanic, Forrest Gump, Godfather, The Hurt Locker, No Country for Old Men, Lord of the Rings, Midnight Cowboy, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, Gone with the Wind, Schindler's List, The French Connection, Silence of the Lambs, All About Eve, Lawrence of Arabia, Casablanca, Godfather 2, The Gladiator, Dances with the Wolves, The King's Speech. I can list so many of them. According to the new guidelines, none of those movies would have ever won an Oscar, an Academy. By the way, it's as if they're not paying attention to data, because just in 2014, 9 years ago, 44 million of us watched the Academy. Do you want to know how many people watched the Academy in 2023? 18.7 million. It was the third worst. And guess what the top three worst have been the last 3 years? Why? Because when Hollywood goes woke, they lose viewership, and Hollywood has forgotten why it started in the first place, why they left Jersey and Thomas Edison to go to Hollywood. Wait till you hear about the story of Hollywood. It's going to be a full circle coming back. Maybe a lot of people in Hollywood need to watch this to understand how it got started in the first place. If you get value out of this video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, but more importantly, if you know people in Hollywood, text this to them, let them watch it and let them tear it apart. Let's get right into it. So I think Hollywood has forgotten how the whole thing got started. Look, when you and I, as fans, when we think about Hollywood, what do we think about? I think about the star. I think about the Walk of Fame. I think about the big sign in the mountains. I think about Chinese theater, Dolby Theater, but I think about the hub for creativity for movies. I've been to these studios, I've been to shows, I've been to all of this. It's an incredible place with rich history. But Hollywood has forgotten why they escaped Jersey to go to Hollywood. Here's why. Early beginnings of Hollywood, 1900s and 1910s, the Hollywood story began when filmmakers started moving to California to escape the harsh patent laws imposed by, ready, Thomas Edison. His motion picture patent company in Jersey, who owned many patents on the movie making process and had strict rules and regulations in place for the film industry. When I think about film, I think about creativity, I think about edgy. If you force me to produce a product based on your guidelines, I'm losing creativity. I don't like it. Here's what I think about when I think about creativity. You can't put them in a box, right? You better do this or else you can. I'm creative. Leave me alone, right, to be creative. The second thing is, if you try to force an agenda down the audience's throat and they don't show up, guess what? It's not working. You got to regroup and go back and say, let them be creative, no guidelines. Let the audience produce a product that the customers want to see. Hollywood's forgot about that as well. The golden age, 20s and 50s, characterized by the studio system. The big five studios, Paramount, MGM, Warner Brothers, 20th Century, and RKO, dominated, each with their own roster of stars. This period produced many of Hollywood's most beloved classics like Wizard of Oz, Citizen Kane, Gone with the Wind, Casablanca, It's a Wonderful Life, Psycho, and many others. Then we go into the 60s and 80s. This is the post-studio system era. During this time, the old studio system had fallen, and the new Hollywood, this era is marked by films that had a more realistic and grittier aesthetic, such as Great Escape, The Godfather, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, Taxi Driver, Alien. It was just creative. We're like, man, this is crazy. What's possible if they're doing stuff like this? What could come next? Then in the 80s was a rise of blockbuster films, Star Wars, E.T., Indiana Jones, Back to the Future, Die Hard, Scarface, and many others. Then it's the modern era, 1990s and 2000. This is when we see movies like Goodfellas, Fight Club, The Matrix, Pulp Fiction, Toy Story, Lord of the Rings, The Departed, Glad. Gladiator, The Dark Knight, and many others. And by the way, at this time, we're not caring about how many Middle Easterns are in the movie. I'm Middle Eastern. Can you imagine? I don't like The Dark Knight because I think Batman needs to be from Iran. What do you mean he needs to be from Iran? No, let's cast and see who's the best Batman, okay? If that guy's the best Batman, let him be. Not because I'm upset because there's not enough Middle Easterns in there or not enough women or not enough this. I want to see a good film. When I'm watching a good film, I don't sit there and calculate and say, you know what, they're missing too many of this, they're missing too many. I say, what a great movie. I'm not even thinking about any of that stuff, but that's the mistake Academy is making today. And trust me, they're paying the price for it already, but they're not paying attention to data. Then we have 2010s to present. Increasing diversity and representation, both in front of the camera as well as behind the camera, driven by social media activism, increased calls for diversity. High-profile example includes Black Panther in 2018, Wonder Woman 2017, Moonlight 2016, and the woke remakes of Ghostbusters in 2016, Star Wars in 17, Ocean's 8 in 18, American Pie, Girls Rules in 2020, which many of you probably haven't even seen. This time it was kind of like, well, we should do this because we ought to consider having more people in this background, that background. Okay, no problem. But it was still something that was being encouraged. All of a sudden, a couple events happened. That's not calling the Academy to force producers to do this, or else you're not going to be nominated. Couple events. Number one, 2015 and 2016, the hashtag #OscarsSoWhite controversy, when all 20 actors nominated in the lead and supporting actor categories were white. This led to widespread criticism and calls for greater diversity in the film industry. In response, the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences implemented change to diversify its membership. Then in 2017, with the Me Too movement, when Harvey Weinstein was finally exposed for what he was doing, the corruption, and other power players that were abusing their power against women, of course that had to be exposed. It was something that was necessary, but then that got people to say, well, what are we doing about it? And a lot of people started complaining, but rather than finding ways to address the issue, they started putting force and mandates in Hollywood, and when you do that, unfortunately, you eliminate creativity. In 2021, Hollywood diversity bill passes California legislature, and here's what it was. California's film tax credit aims to punish projects that don't hit diversity goals. Under a proposal from the governor's office, Newsom, productions that fail to meet the diversity goal will lose 4% of their tax credit allocation and a 4% bonus for productions that meet diversity goals. The provision is part of a 5-year extension of the state's $330 million tax credit. Productions that receive the credit will be required to submit a diversity work plan under which they must commit to hire a crew that is broadly reflective of the state's demographics. Look, the way we get judged in business or in politics is your policies you come out with. If they're great, results should go up because it's all about data. If it doesn't, it goes down. It's a shitty idea. I've run a sales organization for 20-some years. If I change the commission structure and all of a sudden sales skyrocket and good behavior comes out, great, that was a good idea. But I've come out many times with a commission structure that sales dip. Guess what? Whether you like it or not, it's not a good idea. You got to figure out a way to adjust it, right? California passes this bill in 2021, okay? If viewership goes up with the academies, then good idea, Newsom. But if it doesn't, it's probably a bad idea. Again, 2014, 44 million of us watched the Academy Awards. Last year, 2023, this year, it's 18.7. He's not helping. However, let's see what happened in California. In 1920, 95% of films being made were based out of California. Let's see what it's looking like today. And let's first look at what states are leading the movies being made. The data that we have is from 2021. At the top, California, 574 the feature films were produced in California. Number 2 is New York at 91, Georgia 71, New Mexico 60, Louisiana 56. Matter of fact, the top 5 control 80% of them. Then it's Texas 45, Carolina 38, Michigan 35, Tennessee 34, Illinois 33. By the way, if you look at the list, Florida's not even in the top 10 list. We, Valuetainment, plans on building one of the biggest media companies in the world, doing movies, docs, shows, podcasts, all of that, out of Florida, and we're constantly hiring. Complete side note, if you are looking for a gig, you got a lot of talent, look at our job openings. Link below, you can find it. More importantly, if you're somebody that's a diehard valuetainer and you love the valuetainment gear, this is by far one of my favorite shirts. It feels so good wearing this shirt, but the new logo, Valuetainment's on it. If you want to sport the Valuetainment gear, click on a link above or below, order one of these shirts. It's sick, that's all I can tell you. So let's go back to it. California, 1920s, 95% of the movies made in Hollywood were based out of California. In 30s, it goes to 90. In 40s, it goes back up to 95. Then it goes 90, 85, 80, 75, 70, 65, 60, 55. It went from 95% to 55. And the more regulation they create, people are going to leave California to make movies. Where am I going with this? So this is just California losing market share. Look what the Academy's just announced to make regulation to be even mentioned or nominated for Best Picture in 2024 moving forward. Their guidelines are even stricter than California's guidelines. All right, so here's what the new requirements include. Number one, at least one of the lead actors or significant supporting actors must be from an underrepresented racial or ethnic group. Number two, at least 30% of all actors in secondary and more minor roles must be from at least two underrepresented groups. Number three, the main storyline, theme, or narrative of the film must be centered on an underrepresented group. Number four, at least two of the creative leadership positions and department heads must be from underrepresented groups. Number five, at least six other crew and technical positions must be from an underrepresented racial or ethnic group. And number six, the distribution or financing company must have paid apprenticeship or internship for underrepresented groups. Are you already like losing your mind asking if this is a spoof or satire article? This is actually their new guidelines. And you may be asking, Pat, what is considered an underrepresented group? Here's what's defined as underrepresented group. Number one, women. Two, people of color. Three, LGBTQ plus people. Four, people with disabilities. Five, people with low-income communities. Six, people from rural areas. Seven, people from indigenous heritage. Again, earlier I mentioned to you all those movies that won Academies, the greatest movies of all time that won an Academy. None of them would be nominated according to these new guidelines. They just wouldn't be nominated. And they're fantastic movies. And when you and I watched it, we didn't think about why there's no Middle Easterns in there, why there's no this in there. But today, the rally cry is so big that they want to change it. So what could happen here? Let me give you a couple different industries to look at, or sects. The NBA, okay, a product that I loved watching for many years. Did you know 73.2% of players in the NBA are black? Did you know only 12.5% of America is black? What should we do? Should we lower that 73% and only allow 12.5% of blacks to play basketball because we have to be diverse? You know, it has to be fair, right? Because only 13% of players are white. 3% are Latino. Well, nearly 24% of America is Latino. Why don't we have more Latino players? Did you know only 0.4% are Asian?